Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Mike Francesa channel, on Bet Rivers, on YouTube, on the Bet Rivers Network. We come to you this evening after round one of the Masters is in the books, and it was a beautiful day at Augusta and one with plenty of action, most of it positive. There were a lot of guys under par. As a matter of fact, there were 16 players alone that were -1, finished up -1. And there are 34 players between even and -3, and a few above that, led by, of course, Justin Rose, who has a propensity for leading the Masters. He has led it on numerous occasions. He has led the first round on multiple occasions. He has led a round of the Masters or co-led a round of the Masters 9 times in his career, but he's never won the Masters. So he has done this before. He finished up 7 under par, a brilliant round. He actually was 8 under par. He hit his drive errantly on 17 and escaped with a par. He hit his drive more errantly on 18, and he had a punch out and he got a bogey. So he finished with 2 bad drives and with 1 bogey. How that impacts him in round 2, we will see. Right behind him, some very familiar names led by world number 1 in Scottie Scheffler. Scheffler hasn't won yet this year. You know he's coming off the injury. He missed time. He has taken his time getting back into shape. He said this week he felt better than he has any time this year, and that he felt very, very comfortable and ready to play well at Augusta and to defend his crown. He also looks to become just the second player in history to win 3 majors in 4 years, 3 Masters in 4 years. The only player who's ever done it is Jack Nicklaus. So you're in rarefied air. He could do that this year. Now, he sits there at 4 under par. He had a very effortless 4 under par round today. He was in very little trouble. He didn't have a bogey on the card, and he went about his business in very, very steady fashion to finish 4 under par. Oberg, who finished second to him last year, had a very big back nine, got very hot, and finished 4 under par. DeChambeau is playing 18 as we speak, and he is 3 under par. He just dropped a stroke on 17 because he hit a bad drive. And then we get to the guys, the big name players who fell apart a little bit. Morikawa got an eagle on 13. Now, everyone knows that when you get to 13 and 15 at Augusta, if you want to win the golf tournament, if you want to be a big part of the proceedings, you have to score on those par threes. You cannot give up those opportunities. Those are eagle opportunities, and when you play it right, they should be birdies, minimum. For a McIlroy or for a Scheffler or for so many of the golfers, they should be tap-in birdies. Now, Morikawa eagles 13 to go to 3 under par and gets himself into trouble on 15, bogeys 15, bogeys 16, bogeys 18, finishes even par. Rory was playing very well. He was 4 under par. He drove the ball brilliantly today, which is no surprise. If you take length and accuracy of hitting fairways, Rory is the best driver of the golf ball in the world. Scheffler is the best player in the world. Rory is the best driver of the golf ball in the world. He does that better than anybody. The rest of his game can come and go. Now, he's 4 under par. He is sitting in the middle of the fairway on 15. He has under a 200-yard second shot. Now, the key there is to hold the green, not to reach the green. You're going to reach the green. You're going to, it's nothing for these guys to get the ball over the water. But On 15, you don't want to be behind the hole because you can't stop if you have to use a wedge, you cannot stop the ball coming back towards the pin. And that's exactly what happened to Rory. He hit his second shot over and he hit his third shot into the water and wound up getting a double bogey. And then he topped that off by double bogeying 17. So he gave back the 4 strokes and finished the day 4 strokes behind Scheffler, finished up very poorly, and wound up even par. So both Morikawa and Rory, who people had such high hopes for in these tournaments, Scheffler was the favorite, Rory was the second favorite, Morikawa was the third favorite. Both of them now go into Thursday night having to do some real work on their psyches and on their games and to come out and play well on Friday. The way Rose is sitting there at 7, that's not the problem. Scheffler sitting there at 4 is a problem. If he comes back with a second good day, he could have already run and hide from some of those guys if they don't have a good Friday. Forget making the cut. You expect both of them to make the cut. If they don't make the cut, it's a disaster. But the bottom line is they have to get their acts together right out of the gate on Friday because of what they did in the final holes on Thursday, giving back 3 strokes for Morikawa, giving back 4 strokes if you're Rory. So you have Rose at 7 under, Scheffler at 4 under, DeChambeau at Oberg at 4 under. So you have Rose at 4 under, Scheffler at 4 under, Oberg at 4 under, DeChambeau at 3 under, English at 2 under, and then 16 players at 1 under par, including Cameron Smith, who loves Augusta, Fitzpatrick, who's a wonderful putter, who's had a bad year, Cameron Young, who obviously I thought could play well in this tournament, and I took as a long shot. You have Matea, you have Day, you have Kim, you have Thompson, you have Smith, you have Couples. Freddie finished 1 under par today. He eagled 14 from 191 yards out. And the ageless one at 65 who loves Augusta, he shoots under par today. Bubba Watson shoots under par today. Both of them shooting 1 under par. So you had Reed under par, Couples, Harmon, Lee, McCarthy, Berger, Fitzpatrick, Hovland, Lowry, etc., and so on. 16 different players. And as I said, 34 players between even and -3. And then 3 players above that. Oberg at 4 under, Scheffler at 4 under, and Rose at 7 under with his wonderful opening round today. But obviously, all eyes are still on Scottie Scheffler, defending champ, has won it 2 of the last 3 years, world number 1, and came out today with a very, very solid 4 under par, 68. So a lot of action, as always. It was a beautiful day today at Augusta. It sounds like a little chance of rain tomorrow, but overall, the weather for the 4 days is supposed to be terrific. It's supposed to be beautiful, 70s and sunny on the weekend. So it looks like it's going to be a terrific, terrific weekend at Augusta. And nothing yet has changed my thought process. You knew Scheffler would be right there. Despite his final holes today, I still expect a good performance from Morikawa. Oberg is going to be a major factor. I thought he would be. DeChambeau, dangerous. Rahm looked awful. He finished up three over par, I believe. Let me see. I don't remember what he did on 18, but let me see if he's 3 or 4. He was 4. I think he wound up 3. He wound up 3 over par. Um, he does not look like the same player. I think the fact that he had the kids, the fact that he's wrapped up with his young family, and the fact that they gave him somewhere around 600 or 650 million dollars to go to the Live Tour took away his incentive. I mean, those guys on that tour, for the most part, with the possibility of accepting Chambeau, they haven't played that well. I mean, Koepka today was 2 over par. You expect better in big tournaments. Rahm was not a factor. Dustin Johnson, not a factor. You used to always have to know where Dustin Johnson was in these tournaments. You used to always think about Rahm as being a very forward factor in this tournament. And today, not a threat, not a story in any way. And I don't expect to hear much from him in this tournament. He's 3 over par. And I don't think I'd be surprised if he turned around and, fired a 67 tomorrow. I'd be very surprised, as a matter of fact. Phil Mickelson, who's also kind of been forgotten. It's funny. You never had a Masters where Phil wasn't front and center, where he wasn't a central figure, where you didn't almost, and I probably did it more than most, but didn't, you followed almost everything he was doing. He'd always give you some excitement. He'd always make a run. And now it's like he doesn't exist. I understand he's not young anymore, but still, he just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it's like he just evaporated from the earth. It's sad. It really is. For someone who was such a special part of golf. Koepka 2 over par, as I said. Again, is the incentive there? Easy, live money. Cantley went in the water, wound up with a 7 on 15, 2 over par. Dustin Johnson, 2 over par. Max Homa, 2 over par. Davis had and I thought Davis was a live long shot, and he was a big long shot, and he still might be, but he had a very strange round today. He really did. He birdied 3, he bogeyed 5. He birdied 6, he double bogeyed 7. He bogeyed 13, he birdied 14, he eagled 15, he double bogeyed 16, he bogeyed 17. I mean, it was a roller coaster ride of not only birdies and bogeys, but double bogeys and eagles. I mean, just a crazy day for Cameron Davis, who wound up uh, 2 over par. Remember, they take 50 players plus ties. That's how the Master does it. 50 players plus any ties. That's who makes the cut. So don't look for a number. Go 50 players down, and if there's ties on those last spots there, they're in. That's how it works. 50 players plus ties. So the guys who were at the bottom of the list today, who had bad days, who you might have thought something of, Henley plus 7. Serge Straka's had a good year, plus 6. Glover, plus 6. Pavone had a good tournament last year, plus 6. Adam Scott, usually very consistent, plus 5. Horschel, plus 5. Wendell Clark, plus 4. Then, of course, Rahm at 3 over par. Finau, who usually makes the cut and comes on at Augusta. And I didn't follow his round much today, but he got off He just had a bad day. I mean, that's really it. And he bogeyed. He did not. He's a big hitter. He did not birdie 13. He did not birdie 15. And then he bogeyed 16, and he bogeyed 17. I mean, he double bogeyed 16, and he bogeyed 17 to finish +3. Very poor performance for someone who usually plays well. I wouldn't be surprised if he came back with a good performance tomorrow because he usually makes the cut. I mean, it's rare that he doesn't at Augusta. He's one of those guys. One of the guys I gave you, and I always consider one of the horses for courses, and he seems to, no matter how he's playing, play well at Augusta, is Cameron Smith. He has a game that fits Augusta very, very well. Went around his business today and finished 1 under par. He had a really quiet front nine. As a matter of fact, he had a quiet day, 2 birdies, 1 bogey. That was it. All the rest pars. With him though, he can get hot with the putter, and his game is very well equipped. So don't be surprised to see him hanging around because he has a habit of doing that and then appearing, jumping up on that board the last day. I mean, that's something, he's been a forward finisher at Augusta on a couple of occasions. He likes Augusta. He plays very well at Augusta. I would not be surprised if he does again, and he did today, as a matter of fact. Cameron Young's showed up well at Augusta the last couple of years. He finished even par today. Again, could have been better. Bogeyed 15. When you give away strokes on 13 or 15, it comes back to haunt you. You can't do it. It's where you have to score on this tournament. There are certain holes, certain holes are going to be a problem. Okay. Par is a really good score on 11. Par is a really good score on 18. That's just the way it is. Okay. And these were the easier pin placements today. Those holes are tough. There's certain holes that are tough, but you expect, especially if you're one of the bigger hitters, you expect to be able to score and score appreciably on the par fives at Augusta. That's the idea. You want to be able to put yourself in a position to really move and really attack the course on 13 and 15, giving you momentum into those last couple of holes. So many times, what happens on 15 can derail your round or really propel you around. When you're trying to make a charge and you eagle or birdie 15, you see so many guys then get hot and come back and finish those last couple of holes strong. Or conversely, the same thing. Have a bad hole on 15, and both Morikawa and Rory saw their rounds derail today on 15. Rory with a double on 15, Morikawa with a bogey on 15, and they both had the wheels come off in those final couple of holes after that and wound up even par after being 3 under and 4 under respectively. And it makes a big difference sitting there on Thursday night, 4 under par, nestled with Scottie Scheffler versus being even par and in the middle of 35 golfers. So that's where we are now. If you haven't created an account with Bet Rivers, hey, this tournament is one that you can bet day in, day out. There's always an updated board based on what the action is. So the futures, you can bet who's going to win the tournament right up through Sunday. And, hey, the world changes. You see an opening, you take it. You see somebody get hot, you take it. You see somebody you think's getting hot, there you go. Throw a couple of bucks on them and away you go. Also, you get the matchups before the day starts for groups, the matchups for head-to-head, and you can always find some interesting things there. So if you haven't created an account with Bet Rivers, you can get a second chance bonus bet if your first bet loses. Terms and conditions apply. See the Bet Rivers app for full details. And remember, also go to the Mike Francesa podcast.com. Go to MikeFrancesAPodcast.com to enter your email address to sign up for the Mike Francesa Podcast newsletter. Doesn't cost you anything. Exclusive content, some goodies and different things. So updates and hey, and it's free. All you got to do is give me your email. That's it for the Mike Francesa Podcast. Go to MikeFrancesAPodcast.com for the newsletter. You can check that out too. So tomorrow, day 2, we are moving in quickly on the NFL draft. You're going to get these stories every day. It's like a different theme. Oh, this guy is meeting with this team's meeting with this guy. This guy had a meeting with this team. This guy did this. This guy did that. Hey, it's the way it works. A lot of it is information that is passed along just for effect. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of games that are played these final 2 weeks. This infusion of talent is a very, very big deal for the NFL. This is their lifeblood. And it's a game that makes and breaks front office careers and aids teams dramatically. There's no question. So it matters. And this is a tricky year because, if you're at the top, quarterbacks are not automatic. There isn't a quarterback here that's turning everybody's head. You don't have an Aikman or a Peyton Manning or a Luck. There isn't a guy there like that this year. So is Ward going to go off the board first? Yes. Is Sanders going to go off the board in the first 3 or 4 picks? Probably. Because it usually happens that way. People don't pass up quarterbacks. They'd rather be aggressive and make a mistake on a quarterback than not pick him at all. And then you have a couple of very talented players. Down the line, you have a couple of very interesting players in this draft and a couple of very interesting tight ends in this draft. I'll get to that because, the tight end position has become very, very big and a very important one inside the NFL. And you have a couple of guys, and you saw what the Raiders did with the tight end they drafted last year. They drafted a guy who's, got a chance to be can be a great, great player. He is a terrific talent. And I got to admit, although I like the player the Jets drafted, and I wanted them to draft an offensive lineman because it was something that was needed for Aaron Rodgers, I do kick myself a little bit for not promoting the Georgia tight end because you knew he was going to be really special, and he was even better than that. Now, this year, you have 2 tight ends, but I think one's better than the other. Which one? Well, there seems to be quite a different debate on it. So we'll talk about that as we get closer to the draft. But again, there's 2 really good tight ends there this year, and obviously a couple of unique talents. I do not expect anybody, anybody to impact the game playing both ways in the NFL. I'm sorry. I do not think it's going to happen. I'm not telling you that he couldn't line up if he becomes a starting corner. I'm not telling you that he'll never line up on offense. What I'm telling you is he's not going to catch 80 balls on offense and play corner. That's not going to happen. He is going to, I'm not saying he won't have an impact at times on the other side of the ball, but he's going to have a primary side of the ball. And that's going to be, for the most part, his singular purpose, because otherwise it doesn't work. Nobody's playing every down in the NFL. Nobody. It's just too hard. And playing corner isn't, not that wide receiver isn't demanding, but playing corner is incredibly demanding in the NFL. So treat him like he's a position player, not a game-changing player who is going to revolutionize the sport. It's a little much. That is a little much. But there's some very, very promising and interesting players in the top of this draft. The only problem is they're not quarterbacks. That's the problem. Do I think the Giants are going to take a quarterback with their first pick? I do not. I do not. Do I think they might trade up and go get a quarterback at 20? Possible. Go get a quarterback at the top of the second round? Very possible. I think probably likely that they will add a quarterback before the third round. And most likely will use in some way or some fashion pick before that. But I do not think it will be the pick at the top of the draft. That would make what they did already makes no sense. That would make even less sense. We have time to deal with that. There's no question. Plenty of time. So round 2 will set a tone here. Because of the guys you have, do I consider Rose a serious threat right now? I got to be honest, I don't. I'm not trying to insult him in any way. He's a terrific player. He's got a great swing. But he's not a kid anymore. And he's led a lot of times, and he hasn't won. If you're asking me right now, do I think he's going to win the tournament? I do not. Do I consider the next couple of guys serious threats? I consider DeChambeau a threat. I consider Oberg a big threat. And I consider Scheffler, obviously, the guy to beat without any question. I expect him to be there in the final 3 or 4 holes on Sunday without any question, and I would not be surprised if he had the lead. Wouldn't surprise anybody. He's the best player. And this tournament is one that suits him very, very well. And I liked what I saw from him today. He looked very much on his game today, very much in command, which he has not this year. You've seen little fits of temper this year out of frustration as he comes back from that injury, from the accident with the knife, and he clearly was off his game. He looks to be completely back on his game. And if you want to beat him, you can't stumble around like Morikawa and Rory did on the final 3 or 4 holes today. That's not the way you beat Scheffler. Not anywhere, no less at Augusta. We'll see you tomorrow.